welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. On Wednesday, the business center of the universe, Bentonville, Arkansas, home to Walmart, was the political center of the universe, at least for a little while. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced he would seek the Republican nomination for U.S. president.
This campaign is about courage. It is about making the tough decisions to rebuild our economy, to give peace a chance through America's strength, and to renew the American spirit of freedom, opportunity, and the rule of law. And we've got our work cut out for us.
And that's where I picked up for a conversation on politics and business with Paul Gatling, editor of the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal, which is a talk business and politics publication. You were on the square of downtown Bentonville this past week when former Governor Asa Hutchinson made his announcement for president. We've had Bill Clinton, Mike Huckabee, General Wesley Clark. Now we've got Asa Hutchinson running for president. I probably left someone out there, I'm sure. But what was it like being on the square that day? What was the atmosphere? And could you detect any kind of, enthusiasm from the crowd?
It was enthusiastic. I thought it was kind of in this day and age of political theater, was almost like a throwback, if you will. I mean, lots of red, white, and blue, and just a positive tone, and had the Springdale High School band because the former governor attended Springdale High School, and had the Gravette High School cheerleaders because that's where he grew up in Gravette. And it was, me personally, I live in Bentonville. It's not every day that somebody announces their candidacy for president 5 minutes away from where you live. So it was fun, and the rain held off. That was also important too. But yeah, I thought the governor did well. Spoke for a little over 20 minutes and struck an optimistic tone. He did not mention former President Donald Trump, but he did mention President Joe Biden several times, and tried to establish the contrast with him. But as everyone knows, it's no secret he's going to have to establish the contrast with Donald Trump. Again, it's the GOP primary is a tough place to break through without. Some people call it the name recognition. In this day and age, I'll call it celebrity. You've got to have a certain celebrity factor to break through. So it's going to be an uphill climb for Asa Hutchinson, but this week in downtown Bentonville, there were several hundred people there. They put on a good event, and he's off and running. So we'll see where the path leads and how long it leads.
I'm not sure if he mentioned it, because is he going to have a campaign headquarters in Bentonville, or is it just going to roam with him and maybe go to Iowa? Did he make any? Is there any mention of that? Because when Bill Clinton had his campaign headquarters in Little Rock, it was an economic boom for the city. I mean, there were people coming in, lots of travel in and out of town, lots of people eating at restaurants and staying at hotels, and I don't know if I caught where the former governor said he might locate some stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's been any talk like that, because again, I think we're just in kind of this, let's see what happens here in the next few weeks and months. And as far as, okay, this is official ground zero, this is official campaign headquarters. But again, as he made clear in his remarks on Tuesday morning, Bentonville or Wednesday morning, whenever that day was, Bentonville is a special place to him. He's had a lot of milestones. He's had a lot of big events since he left the governor's office, and even as he was transitioning out, he was part of the Heartland Forward here last May, and of course, his PAC had their big event with several speakers over a couple of days here this past fall. So Bentonville has played an important role as he transitioned out of the governor's office, and it's played an important role once he was out of the governor's office. So I think it stands to reason that if there is some traction as the campaign goes on, if there's call to have an established campaign headquarters, I'm sure that the powers that be in Bentonville would only be too happy to have another reason to bring people to the county seat of Benton County.
Let's talk about what's going on just down the road. You mentioned Springdale earlier as part of Asa Hutchinson's announcement, but Tyson Foods, the big Corporate meat and protein giant that's headquartered there announcing some pretty major corporate layoffs, 10%. I think they're going to reduce their VP ranks by 15%. For people who maybe haven't seen that story yet or understand the ramifications, how big is that? And maybe give us a few more details on what's coming.
Well, I think the impact would be, Kim Souza reported in her story, there's about 6,000 people that you would classify as corporate employees. So that's kind of eye-opening. If they're going to say they're going to cut 10% of corporate employees, I mean, that's, even if it's lower than that, that's 400, 500, 600 jobs here primarily in Northwest Arkansas. So that's one thing. Two, it was just 6 months ago when they recalled several corporate employees, several hundred, close to 1,000 from South Dakota and Chicago to kind of consolidate all the corporate base of employees here in Northwest Arkansas. Haven't really been forthcoming about how many of those people accepted that that job offer to, your job requires you to move to Northwest Arkansas. I don't think it was very many people. But at the same time they announced that, they also announced some expansion plans for their corporate campus on Don Tyson Parkway in Springdale. And they've since bought some, bought a large facility in Springdale to help with that transition. So 6 months later, all of that it doesn't kind of jive with the expansion and the growth and the footprint growth here in Northwest Arkansas. But in the memo that Donnie King sent yesterday, they're going to focus more on some efficiency, less duplication of services, less duplication of job responsibilities. And the bottom line shows that the company has had a few rough earnings reports. Profits are not what they once were a year ago, 18 months ago. So this is the strategy right now going forward, but the strategy 6 months ago was different, and so it may be something different 6 months from now. We'll wait and see.
All right, lastly, a startup technology company out of Bentonville, Ox is the name of it, has secured some pretty major funding. Tell everybody a little bit about this startup and what's the significance of this latest round of Series A funding that they've secured.
Yeah, big success story for Charu Thomas. She's the 25-year-old founder and CEO of Ox. She started this company as a business idea as an undergrad at Georgia Tech, won several awards with it in some startup competitions, accelerator competitions. Came to Northwest Arkansas as part of the Fuel Accelerators by Startup Junkie. Did well there and opened her eyes and said, you know what, we really need to be in Northwest Arkansas because Ox makes artificial intelligence powered technology that's used by retail suppliers and retailers. And they have several Fortune 500 companies. And this is wearable technology that frontline workers use in places like micro-fulfillment centers and warehouses and retail warehouses. So what better place to be than the CPG and retail capital of the world? They've raised about $16 million in the 4 years since they started. And yes, this week's big announcement, $12.6 million of Series A funding, which he says is the largest Series A round for a software firm in Arkansas's history. So they've gone from about 4 to 40 employees in the past 18 months. So now they've got all of this money that is going to help fuel their growth, and they're excited about the future and being in Northwest Arkansas, and specifically being in Bentonville.
That's Paul Gatling. He's the editor of the Northwest Arkansas Business Journal. You can catch our full interview online, as well as some of those stories that we talked about at talkbusiness.net. We're back with more right after this.